Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sage's Tabletop Table Talks. I'm Sage, this is my tabletop, and I'm going to talk to you about tabletop role-playing games. Let's get controversial for a second. Let's talk about AI in tabletop gaming spaces. So, a lot of my thoughts don't exactly line up with most of my contemporaries. I feel like a lot of people are being very reactionary about AI in tabletop role-playing games. So let's kind of just go over the points that everybody's making about tabletop role-playing games. And obviously the first one is about taking jobs from more traditional artists. This is such a silly and very reactionary argument because arguing that AI is taking jobs from legitimate artists is like saying that the pen and paper took jobs away from people who chiseled in stone. Like technology hasn't every major advancement in technology hasn't shifted job markets radically. And the same people who are saying that are a lot of them the same people who out where I live, because I live kind of out in Appalachia, telling people who lost all their jobs in these mines as there's been a push to shift away from coal-fired power plants into more renewable resources. Basically, these people who've lived their entire lives in these mines, and that's how they've made their money, basically to suck it up, buttercup. But now that it's involving a bunch of people crying on TikTok, all of a sudden the song has changed. Job markets change. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. Do I feel bad for artists who are losing their commissions? I do. I really do. But that's just how that's just how the market goes, You're in one day and you're out the next. Find a different job. Like everybody told all the people who lost their homes, their families, and their livelihoods when these coal mines closed. Are coal mines closing as we shift to nuclear and solar and hydroelectric and wind power? Is it a net positive for society? Yes, it is. It is more good than bad, but tell that to the guys who suddenly are struggling to pay their mortgage. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't exactly. It's not that I don't feel bad. It's just I understand how job markets shift. The other big argument people make is quote unquote stolen artwork. Like, once again, all you traditional artists out there, how many of you have used reference from materials that you weren't given permission to use reference for? Because, the argument is, well, we didn't give them permission to use our materials as reference. Yeah, but a traditional artist who used your materials didn't get permission from that either. Once again, it's just a matter of you're being very reactionary to a new technology. This new technology has appeared, and because all of a sudden now the job market shifted, there's a huge and it always happens, just a huge reactionary bite back against it. People argue that AI art looks terrible. Honestly, I won't deny that. A lot of times when I've seen AI art, it does look weird, and a lot of times it looks very plastic. One of the things I can say about the usage of AI art in gaming spaces is allows people who are designers on a non-existent budget the ability to generate artwork that they normally wouldn't have been able to. Generating artwork, and of course, because a lot of you crybabies in this space are just going to react negatively to it because you're all reactionary and you kind of just need to grow the fuck up a little bit. But people who are on a very, very micro budget, bedroom coders as it were, gives them an opportunity to create AI art, gives them an opportunity to create art for their games where they normally might not have been able to. And as the use of AI as DMs, once again, I honestly think people who bitch about people using AI as a DM aid, a lot of them still use modules. And once again, you guys, it's not that different. You're just being reactionary, you're being childish, you're being silly, you're being very myopic. Um, giving people who like DMing but maybe struggle with some ideas or struggle with moving from point A to point B, AI could help with that. Or people who like to run games but aren't particularly breadth of creative. Well, if you lack creativity, you shouldn't be running D&D. And as I continue standing up, standing in this community where I absolutely stand, stop fucking gatekeeping the games. Stop fucking telling people to not play our games. You, um, sometimes I think no one hates the tabletop gaming community more than tabletop gamers. Because there's a lot of like gatekeeping and our stuff, mine within our community, despite how open you guys claim to be. It's like, yeah, we're open, we want everybody in, we accept, the LGBT community, which is great, which is fantastic. I agree with this. But then it's something like, man, I struggle with creativity. Well, you're not welcome in our space. Oh, I'm real slow with math. I struggle counting these numbers. Oh, hurry the fucking speed up. Play faster. We need to put a timer out in order to keep people like you out of our space. Like, that's not very open space to create. Like, no, you're very performatively open. You're open in a way that allows you to be very performative, that allows you to wave a flag saying, look at virtue signaling is what you're doing. That's really all you're doing. You're not actually creating an open and welcome space. You've created a space where you can go on Twitter and claim to be open and welcome and do the very minimum amount of work you have to do to be open and willing in this space. Man, this is really going to be a controversial video. And someone out there is going to turn it into me saying that I don't think we should that people who welcome LGBT, people of color, women into the gaming spaces are wrong. Once again, 100% not what I'm saying. We should welcome everybody into our space who wants to be a part of our space. So yeah, that's it. And honestly, I think that there's something to be said for AI as a DM for people who don't have games. There are people out there who do struggle finding games. There are people out there who have a lot of social anxieties and like being in a big group setting can be difficult for them. So using AI, DMs could allow them to play, but not be forced into a situation that makes them uncomfortable, makes them not enjoy. And I, of course, think that this gaming space, you will never, ever, ever play a game of D&D by yourself. There will never be a solo game. And I do know there's a shit ton of solo games out there. If you struggle with social anxiety, depression, or anything like that, check out something called Solo But Not Alone. I think it's around this time of year they do it, but it's where they basically, for very, very little money, you can go out and purchase a collection of tabletop role-playing games that are meant to be played by yourself. A lot of them are kind of journaling games, which are fine, but that's not really my cup of tea. And I feel like a lot of people who want to try TTRPGs, that's not their cup of tea. But by all means, if you struggle to find a group or you just struggle in social settings, Solo But Not Alone is a great place to go. It also is a charity and it helps do things for like, depression and mental health research, things like that. And I'm not even getting paid. I actually think that Solo Not Alone is a really cool idea. But anyway, so let's answer my question. Does AI have a space at our gaming table. Now, despite what the last 10 minutes tell you, you're going to be surprised by this. And the answer is no, not a little bit. AI is horrible, and the reason why is something no one wants to discuss. I think mostly because, people who post shit on Blue Sky, Twitter, are, because it's all very reactionary, people are very big on screaming and yelling and throwing these kind of tantrums, that the actual discussion that needs to be had isn't being had, because the actual discussion that needs to be had doesn't sound as sexy as we're saving artists' jobs. But the actual discussion, and the reason why, at least at this moment, AI has no space, tabletop spaces, is because of the environmental damage that AI is doing to the world. These people who have these giant AI servers are going around buying up land with freshwater reserves. Lots of it it's like farmlands and things like that. And they are just draining dry our freshwater reserves to cool these giant like server houses. And the more we use AI, the more they're going to build these. And like we are seeing out kind of where excuse me, where I live, they're buying up land and they're stealing water that should be used for farms and ranches. And we are going to see worldwide food shortages because of the use of AI. The use of AI is putting such a strain on our environment. The amount of electricity required means that they are building more power plants. And while yes, there isn't a lot of places a push to go to natural renewable resources, wind and solar and hydroelectric, you still gotta build these things, which do require resources, which do create pollution. Creating solar panels and wind turbines do still create some pollution, so we're creating these where they don't need to be. Like I said, the draining of, and there are still lots of places in the world that use coal-powered power plants, which, if you really understand how that is, like, people talk about the dangers of nuclear power, but more people have died because of coal-fired power plants, because of the amount of respiratory diseases that it makes worse, that it creates or makes worse, because of all the pollution, all the toxins it throws into the air. So yeah, there are more people, and now obviously if we have to build more of these, we might be seeing power shortages, places in the dead of winter or the middle of summer where it's like negative 20 degrees or, 110 degrees, and we are going to see power outages. People are going to lose their heat and their cooling in their homes, and we are going to see, people who are like in more vulnerable spaces, die from it. We are going to see people die. There's going to be literal deaths in this world because of the environmental damage that AI is doing. I'm not being reactionary and I'm not being hyperbolic. This is real. This is a real thing that is happening in our world right now. We are seeing AI start, not only that, just the amount of heat that it takes to these things generate. AI is creating a situation where we are seeing, and like I said, we can see places in the world where water is becoming scarcer and scarcer because so much of it is just being sopped up by these AI servers. And it's getting worse. It's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's like, there's real ramifications that are coming for all of us if we don't stop until AI is in a more stable place in the world. So the answer is no. We don't have a place of AI because AI is damaging our world. I'm not gonna say like, I'm not gonna get all weird and be like, irrevocably, we're going to see billions of people die because, but if we see one person die because we had to use AI artwork in our game, if one person dies because of it, and you can justify however you want, well, everybody else is doing it. Okay, fine, everybody else is doing it. That doesn't mean you have to do it. Honestly, I would rather see a game with no artwork than AI artwork. Or, using AI as a DM aid. You can buy a module. Like, you could go out, I mean, just between you and me, you can probably pirate a module if budget's a problem. I'm sure there are free resources of people who out there who are, putting out, story ideas, things like that. I'm sure you could go to Reddit and ask the people for ideas, and they'd be happy to help you. Or for people who are playing by themselves, like I said, I gave you a resource on solo but not alone, which releases soloing RPGs that will allow you to play in a tabletop space, but not have to find like a group of people to play with. So the options are out there to not use AI, and people on very, very small budgets of gaming creations have put out artwork before. A lot of it's terrible, I admit. I mean, sure, why not? But like, isn't taking awkward ass photos of your friends and applying a wind filter, isn't that better than literally destroying our world before, for ease of use? I'll say yes. So, despite all the things I've said, pointing out how many of these arguments against AI are just faulty, and pointing out the actual uses of AI, it's just not. There's too big of a negative impact it's having on our world to justify it, at least at this moment. So yeah, surprise, I'm actually against AI. Very vehemently, very, very adamantly against AI. But not for the reason most people argue, because most people are arguing very shallow, very stupid reasons. But I think people dying is a pretty good reason not to use AI. But anyway, see you guys next time.